Hello, World Tank Blitzers. It's Littlefinger. It's May 26th. We've got a long weekend. It's Friday, and I'm going to do a store review, and it's been a while. Apologize. Noticed that I'm losing subscribers. Not sure if YouTube's doing a cleaning out or you guys are just leaving me because I'm not putting content out there. Anyway, if you are new to the channel and not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. And it doesn't cost you anything either. So I noticed 10.0 came out this week. I haven't played a single battle all week. New map, Lagoon, looks pretty interesting. And a new line of heavy tanks that culminate here at tier 10 with the Polish VZ55. I have used free XP to get all of these tanks. Haven't played any of them just yet. But we're here for the store review, so let's jump right into that. And I want to start talking about gold. I mentioned this in the last review. Wargaming has increased the prices of gold, which means you're not getting the same gold per dollar that we used to get of about 750 was the average that I used. That has now dropped to almost 600. The higher you go up, you get 682 here on this top one and 420 on the bottom one. So I went with a midline here to put that in line with about 600 gold per dollar. So that's what we're going to talk about as the new baseline. So whenever we see something in dollars to purchase in store, we can convert that to gold using 600 and to find out if buying it in gold or in dollars is a better deal. All right, so to the top here, we've got the Object 777 Soviet heavy tank. Looks interesting, rounded turret. We've got slightly different armor profile for, looks more like the IS-4 a little bit. We've got big drive wheels hanging out front here. Maybe those are gonna eat up some shots, won't take damage. I don't really know much more about this tank, but looking at it, we've got 250 pen, 430 average damage, and 6 degrees of gun depression. All looks pretty standard for a tier 10. Now this is in crates, so you're not guaranteed to get the tank. I believe it has a 5% drop chance. Yeah, there are a fairly high percentage here of getting gold in return. And it does have charms. Not sure here if it's 30 charms or 25. It's been pretty much 30 lately. And you can see here the prices. If you end up having to buy 3 of these to get the 30 charms, you're dropping a lot of gold on this one tank. So gamble at your own risk is what I tell everybody here. The other one in here, the Titan, is in the draw. If you haven't seen the draw before, the gold amount to play starts out very low and then incrementally gets higher. And each one of these has a percent chance of you landing on it. So if we look here, free XP has 20% chance of landing on it, but only 0.08% chance of getting the tank on that first draw. And obviously, as you take several of these off, your chances change. But keep in mind, you're gonna probably end up spending about 17,000 gold in order to get this tank. It's a tier 7. It is definitely not worth that much gold. This is kind of one of those gimmicks where it's like they've suckered you in so far that you just feel like you have to keep going in order to get the tank. My recommendation is play once or twice if you're lucky. Great. If not, walk away from it. And I think the rest is just tanks. If anyone can tell me what this is and how you get it, I'd appreciate it. Like I said, I haven't been following along much lately, and so I'm not up to speed there. Mega containers have got a lot of tanks in it here. You've got some new tanks, fairly new anyway, that I haven't got yet. GSOR Caliban, Aston Rex. So they have added some newer tanks in here. What I find interesting is that the collector tanks have gold compensation if that's what you draw, and the premium tanks just end up with silver compensation here, and you can see the percent chance of getting those tanks there. So let's see what's at the very bottom here. So I'm not exactly sure what that total adds up to. But again, it's going to be a lower percentage on pulling a tank out of the mega containers. Gamble at your own risk. All right, we're not going to talk about the battle pass because we're at the end of the week, and I'm going to skip right over the resources. Nothing really great there to talk about. So let's talk tanks, right? The WZ-111, 20,000 gold for a tier 10 heavy tank. Certainly not my favorite heavy tank out there. It's not a horrible tank, but just very what you would expect from a heavy tank from play style. The gun's gonna have pretty high dispersion and aim time, 4.4, 0.293. Of course, that's without equipment, so you can get that down. Reload 10.5 seconds. You know, like I said, hold down, this tank plays really well, but you've got not great gun depression. 20,000 is not a horrible price for a tier 10. But again, it is not one of those premium tier 10 tanks that I would say is a must own. So if you're a collector, fine. If not, probably pass on it. Now we've got here the Vindicator and the Predator tanks in a combo here. I just want to see real quick, $24 times 600. It's working out to be 14,400 gold. So you're talking 7,000 gold per tank here for tier 7. It's kind of on the high side. You know, this bundle here does come with the 30 days of premium time. It's kind of funny that they're giving you 2 camos for each tank. The 5X comes specific to each tank as well. So not a lot outside of the 30 days, and the camo is you know, added on. The 9 premium slots, the slots there are nice. You don't have to pay to get those upgrades. But we're talking tanks here. The Vindicator is probably the more fun. I mean, just look how big this tank is. And the reason I say it's more fun than the other one, just look at some of these numbers on this derp gun. 900 damage with an HE shot. Dispersion though, 0.413. And as you can imagine, with a gun like this, you don't have very good shell velocity. So it's hard to aim from a distance. I think people have learned how to pen it from the bottom here. When it first came out, people couldn't quite understand how to pen it very easily, so it was kind of troll in that regard. But look at this, 2 degrees of gun depression makes this tank extremely difficult to play sometimes in certain map locations. So just keep that in mind. But you know, for a troll tank, it can be pretty fun. $15, like we said, is gonna work out to be what? Buying this 600, 9,000 gold. Pretty steep price for the tier 7. The Predator here as well, they actually did come in and increase the gun depression on it, lower the gun. As this tank sits so high that it was difficult at times, especially if tanks were close to you, to have the gun depression in order to shoot other tanks. It does have a 3 shell autoloader, 1.5 seconds between shots, and it's only doing about 180 damage. Like I said, this one's not as fun. The derpy factor here on the Vindicator would put this one certainly as more playable, more enjoyable in my opinion. All right, moving on, we've got Fire and Ice. Seen this one quite a few times, and 7,500, and you're getting a tier 8 heavy in the Glacial and a tier 7 tank destroyer in the Blaze. So let's talk briefly about each of these tanks. This tank does side scrape quite nicely. It can be kind of overpowering in ways if you know how to angle it. It does bounce a lot of shots. It's got decent mobility, and let's just check 6 degrees of gun depression. So All around, not a horrible tank. But again, we've talked about tier 8 is loaded with heavy tanks. So you may already have a tank that plays very similar to this, in which case, maybe this is not the best bundle. The Blaze has a limited turret traverse on each side here, so you've got to turn the tank, resetting your camo if you have to look further out to the side there. It's 500 HE, 400 on the regular AP. So it's got nice damage for a tier 7 tank destroyer. 8 degrees of gun depression. There it is. Left and right is 40 degrees. So it's a pretty good amount. And it's got decent mobility too. So this is a kind of a fun tank. It's a little bit different and unique, which I kind of like. So for 3,000, it's a pretty decent investment for your time and money. But again, buying both of them together saves you a little bit, but you may already have tanks very similar to the Glacial. Fast and reliable. When we've seen these tier 3 tanks quite a bit. I don't really play tier 3 that much. When I just remember this tank kind of being able to bounce quite a few shots back in the day with its angled armor. But now it just, the pen and the low damage on these tanks at tier 3 now is just kind of made it unplayable. And then the SU-76, intro to tank destroyers, just an all-around tank. But what I kind of like about these deals, and it seems like these prices have come down here. You can buy them and then you can sell them and get some gold back in return. So if you don't like it, you can sell it. It's not a huge waste, but you're only looking at what, 2,000 divided by 6. It's only 330 gold per dollar if you were to buy and sell it. So not certainly the best way to accumulate gold, but at least you're getting something in return if you don't like the tanks. All right, so the GSOR is finally for sale. I think this is the first time I've seen it, in stores for gold. It's been in crates a couple times. So I'll probably pick this up because I don't have this tank. So I don't really know a lot to talk about it other than it being a British tank destroyer here. And 2 shells and what's the damage? 350. So in 2.5 seconds, you can do about 700 damage to somebody, or 40 if you can get that pen. And so unique thing with this tank, your heat premium ammo has less pen, which we typically don't see, and does more damage. So kind of like a Hesh shell. So if you can get that 170 to pen, that's where you want to be. Because you're going to get way more damage out of that. 8 degrees of gun depression is super nice to see. 49 top speed is quite nice as well. So it looks like to be a fun tank to play. 12,000, for everything here is early investor pricing, and I understand that we should see tier 8s, at the 7,500 mark. So it's 10,000 by itself. So just a little bit above that 7,500 there, but I'll go ahead and get it and be the early investor. T95E2 is next up for 6,000 gold, tier 8. American medium tank, certainly not my favorite, probably towards the bottom of the collector tanks that I own, or premium tanks that I own. It's a standard American tank play here. Just does everything decent, nothing great. I don't recommend this tank, but 6,000 gold for a tier 8, like I said, that's not a bad price. So here is an intriguing bundle. Chimera, which I feel is a must own for everyone. Here is the British medium. It just sits very nicely with this pen and damage number. Yeah, it does have a little bit longer of a reload, but the benefit there is that you can stay hidden and you don't have to be exposed like some of the other British tanks that have more of the low damage, high firing guns, where you do have to be more exposed in order to get your shots off. 10 degrees of gun depression. This tank just does everything well, and I feel like it's a must-own tank. The Emil 1951, and please don't get this confused with the Tech Tree Emil, because they are completely different. This one suffers from a lack of armor, but it has way more mobility. So keep that in mind. It still has the same gun mechanics of your 3-shell autoloader, 3 seconds between shots, doing 310. So 6 seconds, 900 damage fairly easily, 20-second full magazine reload. It's still a good tank, don't get me wrong, but just do not rely on this being a quote-unquote heavy tank with decent armor, because that just won't work out in your favor. So you can see Chimera is still very popular. You know, with as many times as this has been for sale, it's still at that 10,000 mark. So people are spending that and buying it at the higher price. The Emil by itself at 85. You know, I haven't seen it too many times in the store, so I think it's still relatively new. You can save yourself 1,000 gold and then get the camos as well here with the bundle, which I recommend. T14 is tier 5, and I like this bundle. You know, if you're new to the game and you are still kind of collecting tanks, you're working your skills, you're improving, just because you're going to get that 14 days of premium time. So purchase this if you know that you're going to be able to spend a lot of time. The premium time really helps out with being able to increase the amount of money and XP you earn per battle. And this is a true heavy tank. It's very slow. It does bounce shots pretty well. I don't know what else really to say about it. Maybe the pen could be better. But I think it's still one of those tanks that I still have yet to ace, actually. So there's people out there that do play it very well. We've got 4 days left on this smashing platoon. And of course, I didn't talk to you guys last week, so probably didn't discuss this one here. But this is the Object 252U and the T-34-3. Couple things of note here. T-34-3, this tank is very similar to the Tech Tree tank. So basically all you're getting is the extra credit coefficient on this tank. So just keep that in mind. It does have a higher caliber gun that's going to do 400 average damage with a 12.6 second reload. And you see where the Chimera fit in there with the 10.6 second doing the same amount of damage. So you can see why the Chimera is that much better. But this is a fun tank. You've got the medium mobility. But keep in mind there that I was very surprised that this plays exactly like the Tech Tree tank. So, you know, if you're low on gold and don't want to spend it, just go ahead and play the Tech Tree tank and you're going to get just basically the same experience. And then, of course, on the Object 252, this is almost a must-own tank. The armor profile on this is so trollish. You're going to get so many bounces out of this tank. But again, Tier 8, loaded with heavy tanks. Very similar to this one, but I would say this one's probably the top when it comes to armor profile, and they all pretty much play the same. So just keep that in mind. 12,000 for 2 of them, 8,000 for the 252U. You can see the price on that is still relatively high. 5,000 for the 34-3, which just goes to show you that, you know, I think that not a lot of people are buying it because it is very similar to the Tech Tree tank. All right, so we've got the German Bulldog here, still 4 days left, 5,500 gold or $15. And if we multiply that by 600 gold, that would equate to 9,000 gold. So certainly cheaper to go down below, buy the gold, and then purchase this tank if you want. However, I will let you know, I was checking out the online store. This exact same bundle is selling for $11.99 on the store. Don't ask me why. So let's see, $12 times 600, that would be 7,200. So still cheaper here to buy it in gold. About this tank, it's super fast. What was the top speed on it? 72 kilometers per hour. It's got no armor whatsoever. Pen on it is relatively decent. There's 25 mil of armor all the way around it. 2,300 damage per minute. Tier 8, you know, so think about all of those derpy guns you're going to see at Tier 8, Tier 9, even some at Tier 7. You're doing 240 average damage, which is not bad for a light tank like this. 8 degrees of gun depression. It's fun, you know, to be able just to get around maps and relocate quite often. But again, it's a difficult tank to play. 5,500 for a Tier 8, good price. You're going to get 30 days of premium out of it. So quite honestly, you know, it'd be nice if that was for all tanks, but we can't have it all with this bundle. But again, if you like light tanks, you like that playstyle, this is a good bundle. If you don't, stay away from it. You will be upset, I think. So yeah, so that's going to be the store review. Again, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. And of course, enjoy the long weekend and update 10.0. So with that, get educated, not fingered. Littlefinger out.